It is the international break. The transfer window is over. There's no Premier League football on right now, and we're only a couple games into the season, and it is kind of annoying to get an international break just 3 games into the season because it finally gets going again. But there's something about international breaks I mentioned many times, and that is that journalists and media, all of a sudden, they're struggling to get stories. So I feel like they always start clutching at straws when it's an international break, sort of, or like overthinking something or trying to create a story out of nothing or make up a story. And this is the annoying thing about the international break, because I feel like maybe companies are putting pressure on their journalists to get out a story for their website that week. And I sometimes feel like journalists are like, okay, we'll put out that story, we'll put out this story, or we'll overreact about this and clutch at straws. And I feel like we're in that stage right now because there's a few reports coming out today, about Maguire and Casemiro's exits being planned for 2026. Apparently, Rashford's loan could be cut short by Barcelona. And I feel it's journalists, ready to just, what to write about today? We're going to say this. But there is also some interesting updates on Sekou Kone. We're going to talk about him, the plans for him. Nana now third choice goalkeeper could be forced out. Human interest. We're going to talk about all of it because this is Alice Talks Football and this is your 10-minute football roundup. And every day, every evening, I try and do a 10-minute roundup, rounding up all the news in 10 minutes, although it's not as easy in the international break for you guys so you're up to date. And I want to talk about it because I think this Rashford story is a load of crap. And so it was on One Football, and they were reporting something that they'd obviously got via the Manchester Evening News through apparently reports in Spain. That Barcelona are considering ending Rashford's loan early in January. The contract includes a clause allowing this, but Barcelona must pay a 4.3 million penalty fee. Poor performances this season have triggered the debate. Final decision is expected in the coming months. I just feel like this is just a load of nonsense. I'm sorry, why would Barcelona after 3 games be like, yeah, not feeling Rashford, I'm going to send him back? Now, I know a lot of people who watch my channel do not like Marcus Rashford, okay? But Marcus Rashford has been at Barcelona for 3 games, in which he started one, in which in the third game he came on and had a weird shot, which I actually think was him trying to play a pass. And yeah, it was not his best performance. But I feel like this talk of Barcelona are going to send Marcus Rashford back in January, they're going to pay to send Marcus Rashford back early. I don't think they're going to do that because the money they'd pay to send him back in January is like a tiny bit less than the wages they pay to keep him. Injuries could happen. We're 3 games into the season, and I feel like the media hate Rashford. The media hate Rashford. They want him to fail. They want him to do bad at Barcelona. And okay, first game hasn't gone to plan. Coming off the bench hasn't gone to plan. International break needs something to write about. I think it is. Let's write that Barcelona are thinking of sending Marcus Rashford back already. Marcus Rashford gets clicks. Marcus Rashford has a lot of haters. People are going to love this. They love the idea that his first 2 games at Barcelona have not gone to plan. Benjamin Sesko, hasn't had the best 3 games at Man United. Am I sitting here thinking, now shouldn't have brought Benjamin Sesko? Oh, he's a flop already? No. You've got to give players a few games to settle in, try them out, do this, do that. I mean, it's ridiculous. And to be honest, like, I've seen a few people talking about it. I've seen a few people saying, oh, like, Barcelona are going to send Marcus Rashford back. Apparently, Barcelona are going to cut the loan already. I don't think Barcelona are going to cut the loan, and I don't think Barcelona are going to send Marcus Rashford back in January. I think it's probably a load of crap. I think it's probably that international debate needs something to write about. You can't judge a player after 3 games. So even I've seen people tweeting about this on Twitter as well today that, oh, they're already planning to send Rashford back. I don't think they're already planning to send Rashford back. I think if it got to January and Rashford was really, really bad, maybe they'd send him back in January. But I think they're not going to make a decision until at least December. And I for me, I think it's a load of nonsense. But I wanted to talk about it because obviously the last thing we want is Marcus Rashford being sent back, because then in January again we'd have to find another loan move for him. We know how desperately he wanted Barcelona, how much he wanted to make it succeed. And also if Marcus Rashford does well at Barcelona, they're going to give us 26 million for him. And going into next summer, we can do with the 26 million from Rashford. We can do with the 40 million we're going to get for Rasmus Højlund, and that's 66 million to get us Semenyo, Wharton, Baleba, another centre back, Bish, Bash, Bosh. So I really hope that Marcus Rashford goes post international break, goes and scores the hat trick for Barcelona, goes and has some phenomenal games for Barcelona. The Champions League games are coming up. There's going to be 2 games a week. He's going to get opportunities. I hope he smashes it, because even if you don't like Rashford, If you are a Man United fan that wants him to fail, you're not a Man United fan, because we're going to get 26 million if he does well and we'll be able to sell him. If he does bad at Barcelona, we're not going to get any money for him next year, and it's going to be the same situation with the bomb squad. So we're going to hope Rashford performs, and I believe he will. Continuing into news on Casemiro and Harry Maguire. So Casemiro and Maguire's contracts are expected to expire in 2026. Now Maguire's on nearly 200 grand a week, Casemiro's on over 300 grand a week. So the money we save from Casemiro and Maguire leaving in 2026 on a free is quite a lot. If the quick Google I've just done there is correct, we're looking at £28 million a year being saved through getting Maguire and Casemiro off the books. Now, if Maguire leaves, we're definitely going to need another centre-back in for depth because we didn't replace Lindelof and Evans, and I'm assuming this time next season we will hopefully be in Europe with 2 games a week. So I think if Maguire leaves, we'll probably need another centre-back for depth. Casemiro is expected to leave. There's a potential that Casemiro and Maguire could stay and sign 2-year deals, and we potentially half their wages and reduce it. But I look at it and I go, Casemiro to leave, Baleba to replace him, Maguire to leave. I'm not sure who will replace Maguire with, maybe a Branthwaite. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know if we're going to go too expensive on centre-back because I think Euro, Delict, Heaven, Mazraoui, Licha, if he can stay fit, are all solid options. Even like Luke Shaw's got 2 years left on his deal. And he's actually, people aren't going to like me for saying this, but Luke Shaw's actually been pretty good the first 3 games of the season. But like realistically, we should be moving on from Luke Shaw. I'd assume we look at a Maguire replacement. I assume Baleba's the Casemiro replacement. There's rumours that Bruno will go to Saudi next year, but who knows? Wharton's probably a Bruno replacement. I think Semenyo's probably needed for the pace off the bench. But look, Harry Maguire and Casemiro among players currently set to leave for nothing next summer, with club officials due to make calls over their respective futures. This was reported by the Mirror. Look, in December time, if Man United are going to offer them a contract extension, they will. We'll know about it in December, January time. I think both players could go, unless one, or maybe Maguire, would give him another 1 year, but on a reduced salary. As a good squad player for depth, particularly if we're in Champions League next season, I think Maguire's the type of guy that would wait until May just to see if he's going to get a new contract from Man United before going elsewhere, because, we tried to get rid of him before and he won't go. I think Casemiro could go to Saudi or MLS. I think he obviously wants to stay at United this season because of the World Cup, which is why he didn't go to Saudi, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, we just spoke about Baleba and Wharton. Hopefully Mena has a good season and does well. There's already question marks around Agate's future, but one player that could potentially get some minutes this season, have a role, is Sekou Kone. This was said by Sully, who gets good information in and around the club. Sekou Kone is currently doing individual grass training as he steps up recovery work after his injury. He's set to return to group training with the under-21 soon. Injury not still as serious, as he could be involved with the first team later this season. So there's been a lot of talk about Sekou Kone now being seen as the 5th choice midfielder because we didn't sign one. How, he's just returning from an injury, but he could be involved with the squad later this season, potentially get opportunities and minutes later this season. I think with us being knocked out the Carabao Cup, not being in Europe, and the FA Cup a long time away, I don't see him getting any opportunities to the second half of the season. He didn't get any opportunities from pre-season tour, and I do feel a lot of this Sekou Kone talk is about, PR, we didn't sign a midfielder. But I was impressed with Sekou Kone when we look at the post-season tour. I like the player when I've watched him play for the under-21s. I like what I see with the player, and I think there's opportunities for Sekou Kone because I think as a midfielder, in a particular, that's good and has got good attributes and good all-round attributes. And midfield's a position that we lack depth and we're not very good in. There could be opportunities for Sekou Kone, who is very highly rated within the club. And I think if Agate and Casemiro got injured, then there is definitely an opportunity for Sekou Kone. Because if both Agate and Casemiro get injured, who's playing DM? You will be going with Maino and Bruno? Are we going to put someone else in midfield? Do you know what I mean? Because Collier's gone, so I guess he is. Continuing on, so there is a report coming out, and for some reason it's not letting me share my screen, and this came from Graham Bailey, that as it stands, Onana is United's number 3. Alte Bayindir is sitting ahead of him in the pecking order, which is interesting. So if Onana's being told he's number 3, and the Turkish window's open and the Saudi window's open, and Onana originally saying, I'm not going to leave United, I want to fight for my place, and now he's been told he's number 3, he might be thinking, you know what? I'm going to have a look and consider going. And last but not least, and I covered this on my live stream earlier today, but Fabrizio Romano came out and said that United did actually have a few meetings with Morten Hjulman of Sporting to try and understand the situation. Sorry, they had a few meetings with Sporting to try and understand the situation with Morten Hjulman, but because Sporting has sold Gyökeres at this point, they did not want to sell him. So when we didn't get Baleba, it looks like we did go and inquire about Conor Gallagher. We did go and inquire about Hjulman, but it was a situation of they're not going to sell him, or it's difficult to get him because they'd sold Gyökeres and we'd have to overpay. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. I like Hjulman, but he's not in my top 4 midfielders, but I would rather have got Hjulman than nobody, obviously coming in midfield. I want Baleba and Water next summer. I like Elliot Anderson. I like Hjulman. But Baleba and Water are the ones you're like, woo. I mean, Camavinga, if you could get Camavinga, like, wow. But like realistic, you know what I mean? Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.